TxStampin, Sharon. On today's video, I'm doing a new technique that I just learned, and I hope that you enjoy it. It's quite a few little steps to it, but it's super easy and super fun. I would love to hear what you think in the comment section below, because this is different for me, but I hope that you enjoy it. If you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you. I invite you to hit the subscribe button below and then hit the notification bell. If you're interested in joining my newsletter list, you can find the link in the description box below. Every week I send out project sheets that you can print off and be inspired. Let's get started on today's project. I am going to try something new today. I have seen it. I hadn't seen very many examples of it, but when I saw it, I went crazy. It is called Sepia watercoloring technique, and I'm going to use band together. And I have heard from several of you, this flower is so big, what can I do with it? Well, this technique is perfect for that. I wanted to grab another one because I needed some textures. So Tasteful Textures was perfect. And I also liked the sentiments that were in here. So we're going to make this card on today's video. Now, I'm also going to share with you some things that I tried to do that didn't work for me. So I kind of dummied it down just a little bit, and I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. You will notice I have a cloth here. This is just a rag that I keep in my studio. I can bleach it and reuse it for different things. I'm using Shimmery White Cardstock. I tried using watercolor paper, didn't like how it worked. So we're gonna do it with the Shimmery White. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna get a couple of drops of ink. Doesn't take much. I have my little Stampin' spritzer here, and I'm going to spritz my cardstock. So the washcloth helps keep my surface dry. A lot of water. The one example I saw, she used the aqua painter for it, but the spritzer was faster. But I do need my aqua painter. And if you'll notice, my card is curling, and that's because it's wet. No worries. I'm going to squeeze the bulb and get a little bit of water in here. And then I'm just going to color. Some areas will be lighter, some areas will be darker. I can also squeeze my bulb while I'm here and get it even a different color. Go all the way to the edges. Every time I've done this, they've all looked different. Okay, and we're gonna set this aside and let it dry. I'm going to clean off my aqua painter, squeezing the bulb just a little bit till I get it good and clear. There we go. Now I have another piece that I have let dry for the sake of the video, and you can see the different tones, like it's darker, I've got some lighter spots and all of that. I have a container that holds all of my clear blocks, and I put them on there while it was kind of damp to try to flatten it out some more. So I got it pretty flat. Next, you want to have a very juicy StazOn ink pad. You need StazOn because we're going to be adding more water to this. And I live in Southern Arizona, and I have discovered the hard way that I just about have to re-ink this every time I go to use it. But I bought a new ink refill and I am good to go. So here's my big flower. Since it's so big, I'm inking it up upside down. And I'm going to do this card a little bit different, just so I have two different versions. So big. Really press that down. Get all the ink onto the cardstock. There we go. Now, while I'm waiting for my flower to dry, I'm going to go ahead and do some other stamping using some of the sentiments from here, okay? This turned out to be such a super fun card that I can't stop making it. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, I'm kind of scared. I don't know, but I love it. And don't forget, I'm going to share with you some of the other things that I tried. I call myself the Queen of Boo-Boos, but maybe I need to change my title. That when you have an issue, how can you shift gears, either fix what you've done, or when you do start all over again, what else could you try? So maybe, what is that title? I don't know. I need to come up with that. Okay, so I have that. And then I have this little image that I want to use that's also from the Tasteful Textures. And we're going to add some texture to our card. And let's see, I want it over here. And a little bit right there. A little bit. I kind of come up a little bit, do it a little bit different. Okay, so now we've done all of our stamping that we're going to need the stays on for. So we're going to close this up. And now the fun begins. I'm going to add a little bit more ink refill. Whoa. It doesn't take much, guys, I promise. So I'm going to mix, I'm squeezing the bulb, getting some water in there. I probably have way too much, so I'll just have to keep making these cards, I guess, right? Okay, so now we're going to do some coloring. Since I know that I want my stem dark, I'm going to start with it first, as well as my leaves. I want them pretty solid. I don't want them to look as like the rest of the card, where you can see some light and dark. Okay, so now I'm going to come up to my flowers and just start adding some color. And I found that I didn't have to be exact. I could just kind of add some color around. And then I'm going to wipe off, squeezing the bulb, trying to get this clean. And then since it's water-based inks, I can kind of squeeze my bulb a little bit and get some different looks. I'm telling you, every one of these will look different, but my aqua painter is pretty wet. Just trying to blend that some. I'm going to do the same thing down here, but I am going to come back up to this flower and add a little bit of dark right in the center. Squeezing the bulb again. I'm just kind of shading it lighter. I just love this look, and I hope that you will give it a try. I wanted to make it as easy as I could so that you would not feel intimidated when you go to try it. And I like the white right there, so I'm not going to mess with that. Okay. We're going to let this dry completely before we do anything else. Now, the example that I saw, she suggested using bleach. Shall I show you now what happened when I did one of my bleach cards? Now, remember I told you I used shimmery white paper, okay? Giving this a chance to get a little bit flatter. So I used the watercolor paper, and when I used bleach, it turned blue. Why didn't it turn white? I don't know. Is it because I did too much I did too much of the coloring here. It's pretty dark. But no, I didn't do it as dark there, and it's still blue. Can you see how blue? Okay, so I didn't like that. Then the next one I did the bleach, and it turned yellow. These two were part of a sheet. Why did it do that? No idea. So I decided that bleach and I were not suited for this. However, there is something else. Stampin' Up! Sells a Stampin' chalk marker. I figured out that I can do the same thing a lot easier, a lot less smelly, and I loved how it turned out. So I'm just kind of catching the edges, and you can go back and do it again if you want it brighter. Same thing down here. A little bit on our tip. A little bit in the center. There we go. I will come back and do some more. Just keep doing it until it's as white as you want it. I'm going to add some other white elements on our next step. So far, it hasn't been hard. The only thing is you have to let it dry. I did use my heat tool to dry these flowers. Also with the chalk marker, I felt like I had more control. Let me bring in back one of my examples. So see when I used an aqua painter with my bleach and it went outside of the image. I felt like I didn't have any control. The next step is we're going to add Embossing Buddy. Now this needs to be completely dry before you do the Embossing Buddy step. Don't forget that. I'm going to pull in our Versamark. And this is another image from the Tasteful Textures. And this one, I'm going to do differently. I'm going to do it this way. There's no right or wrong way to do these cards, guys. I sure hope that you will give this a try because it is a fun technique. And then we're going to go up here. Bring in our embossing powder. And we did one down here. And now we're going to heat set. So fun. Making sure I got everything done. Just want to make sure that all of that powder is melted. Okay, so now what we need, I'm going to bring in the soft suede, and that is the same color as my re-inker was. Got a quarter of a sponge here. And we're going to sponge the edges, give it more of an antique-y sepia look. You know, when I first started with Stampin' Up, this is all we did. We sponged everything. I'm not worried that I'm getting sponge on my embossed area. I will show you how to get rid of that. You know, it's fun to try new techniques. It was, like I showed you my 2 samples that were a hot mess. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. But I'm happier with this version than this, let me tell you. Okay, so to get rid of, I'm gonna bring in my paper towel that I was using to clean up my aqua painter, and I'm just gonna rub those areas and just kind of get some of that suede ink off. And if it doesn't all come off, don't worry about it. But it does. See, you get a lot of it off. Okay, I cut my shimmery white paper at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 because I have a layer of basic black that is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And see how my paper is still kind of warped. We're going to use our liquid glue. And we're going to put it on the back. And notice I'm being pretty liberal because I need this thing to stick down. But because I was so liberal, I do not want it to squish out. So I'm going to take the other end and just kind of, basically I'm just covering the whole back with liquid glue. Now we're ready to place it on here. Just with a subtle little border. It is ever so slight. And now we can add this layer with some snail. I sure hope that you enjoyed learning how to do the sepia watercoloring. And notice, even though I stamp my flowers different, each card looks different. You can add your white elements however you want. You can just have fun with it. And if you have issues like these, don't worry about it. There's another way to do it. I enjoyed using the shimmery white over the watercolor, and I enjoyed using the chalk marker instead of the bleach. Happy stamping, y'all!